I'm Judge Jim Rogers. I'm the current presiding judge for King County Superior Court. Many of you have heard or read that during the COVID-19 pandemic, our court, like many courts across the United States, went virtual over Zoom as a public health measure. And thanks to the efforts of many employees at Superior Court and the Department of Judicial Administration, we kept access to justice open. We tried more jury trials and hearings of all types than any other court in the United States of America during the 2020 to 2021 time period. And now we've done some redecorating. We have large TV screens in all of our courtrooms. Lawyers and litigants, when they do come in person, will be able to plug in their laptop. They'll be able to show witnesses over Zoom, and hearing or trial exhibits can be displayed for the jury who'll be in person. And all of these changes that we've done, they have brought you, our retired judges and staff, to mind. Your work to ensure access to justice before we came to work here over the past decades made us a national leader. We are dedicating a new display memorializing many of you who have served.
It is fitting that this display is located in the presiding judge's courtroom. Although this is a working courtroom, it also is a ceremonial courtroom in which a number of events are conducted. Notably, the majority of new King County lawyers take their oaths in this courtroom. In the future, as they file out of this courtroom, they will see the display of individuals who devoted at least some part of their professional careers to public service. My name is Judge Jeffrey Ramsdale, and I'm retired from the King County Superior Court. It has been almost 25 years since I took my oath of office as a Superior Court judge in this very courtroom. During my tenure on the court, it always struck me as odd that despite the fact that this building was entitled the King County Courthouse, there was no place in the courthouse where the names of the judges who served were memorialized. I knew that the history of the court went back to 1889, but that was about all I knew. As I approached my own retirement, I began researching my predecessors and resolved to memorialize their service to this court and the community in some fashion. To my surprise, this endeavor was not as simple as I had anticipated. The state records that I obtained regarding the names and dates of service of the King County judges didn't always match the county records. Usually the discrepancy was with regard to the dates of service, but it also included things as fundamental as middle initials. After conducting considerable work on the list, I contacted Judge Rogers with a proposal to create a small plaque recognizing all those who served on this bench. It seemed to me that the history of the bench should be conclusively determined and preserved somehow for future generations. Judge Rogers enthusiastically agreed and suggested that a more substantial and appropriate display could be supported by the court. He arranged for Beth Taylor to coordinate this effort and assist with the historical research regarding areas of conflict in the records. I began working on designs for the project and contacted my friend and woodworker extraordinaire, Jeff Hendricks, also known as the Wood Tailor, to see if he would be interested in building the display. Fortunately, he said yes and thought the project might be fun and different. Beth then contacted Martin King at Martin Signs to determine what we could do with regard to the individual nameplates for the judges and any lettering for the blocks across the top. The display you see is the result of the collaboration of these talented folks. I can say with all sincerity that it exceeds my highest expectations by leaps and bounds. One might ask, what is the value and purpose of memorializing the history of this court in such a tangible way? I have two answers for this question. The first is highly personal, and the second is aspirational. When I was sworn in as a judge, portraits of the original judges from 100 years before adorned the walls of this courtroom. I recall being moved at the time by the realization that I was becoming a small part of a much larger legacy than I had previously recognized. It humbled and inspired me to be the best judge that I had the capacity to become in order to uphold the integrity of the institution that I was fortunate enough to join. It instilled a sense of pride, some fear, and a sense of purpose beyond the immediate. That was my personal experience. Secondly, it's my fervent hope that the judicial service display will inspire others to consider public service as a career. The value and virtue of public service seems to have diminished in recent years. People sometimes question why anyone would consider seeking elective office in the current climate. Distrust of public institutions is rampant, and the court is indeed a public institution. But public institutions are not just brick and mortar. They're comprised of people. It is the quality and trustworthiness of the people who comprise the institution that imbue it with legitimacy in the eyes of the public. So in some measure, the future of the court is dependent upon the competency and integrity of those who take the bench in the future. There's nothing more noble or gratifying than utilizing your talents and abilities in the service of others. Equally important, the future of this branch of government is dependent upon attracting good people to serve, whether on the bench or in some other capacity. The rule of law that we all cherish is not self-executing and will not survive in a vacuum. I sincerely hope that my colleagues, both past and present, approve of this testimonial to their service. I also hope that it may play some role in inspiring others to a career in public service. This display is the result of the efforts of a number of people, some of whom I've already mentioned, all of whom deserve thanks and credit for their contributions. First, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Presiding Judge Rogers, who embraced this idea from the start and whose support brought this project from its humble beginnings to this more grand conclusion. Thank you, Jim. Next, I would like to express my overwhelming thanks, respect, and admiration to the craftsman who brought this vision to reality, Jeff Hendricks. I've known Jeff for over 30 years and am well familiar with his craftsmanship. I would have been loath to trust this project to anyone else. We spent many hours together in his shop and in this courtroom getting the details just right, because to Jeff, good enough is not sufficient. I'm delighted to say that even after all the shared pressures in getting this display built, we're still friends. Thanks for your hard work, Jeff. Martin King of Martin Signs produced the nameplates, the lettering, and the state seal. Martin was a tremendous asset and a wonderful collaborator. Whatever we asked, Martin did without hesitation. And thanks for being so easy to work with, Martin. Beth Taylor served in a number of roles in support of this project. She pulled oaths of office and researched newspaper articles to help resolve conflicts regarding dates of service. She kept us all on task by coordinating phone conferences and summarizing email communications, and she even delivered sample items to my home. Beth, you were invaluable, and thanks for keeping us on the course. I would also like to thank Kirby Pierce and Paul Manilopoulos for anticipating and resolving administrative and resource-related issues necessary to the completion of this project. We couldn't have done it without you guys, and I thank both of you very much. In conclusion, I'm extremely pleased to present the Judicial Service Recognition Wall for your consideration. It was a labor of love for this court and all those in the court community, whether on the bench or serving in support, who worked tirelessly every day to provide effective forums for the fair, understandable, and timely resolution of legal matters. As to the judges in particular, I would add one other observation. These days it seems that when elected officials act in accordance with their oaths, it is something to be recognized and applauded. It becomes cause for celebration. That has never been the case on this bench. Holding true to our oaths of office has never been cause for celebration. It has always been the shared expectation. I hope that never, ever changes. If you get good people doing public service and the public recognizes them as good, trustworthy people with integrity, then they're going to put their trust in that institution. And when it comes to the court, that's even more important than anywhere else.